the environment that we live in, and that we don't have to deal with a lot of the social issues, as I mentioned, like drinking, tattoos, and a lot of.
Right. And let me ask you, now, your husband is from Jordan. Have you ever been able to visit Jordan?
We've been there several times, actually. I'm going back in a couple of weeks.
And so how do you like it there? I mean, what is your impression of Jordan?
I love it there, actually. The people are just so warm. And his family, I'm sure it wasn't their first choice to have someone like me for their daughter-in-law. I wouldn't have been the one his mother picked, I'm sure. But when I go there, I never feel that. So they're very nice to me. They've welcomed me into their home, and they're great to the children. And I'm an only child, so I feel like I need to give my children a family. You know, they don't have cousins here in this country, you know. So their whole family is actually in Jordan. So.
MashaAllah. But let me ask you, when you go out in public dressed like a Muslim woman, do you ever have to answer any questions or respond to any comments about why you dress the way you do?
When I first converted to Islam and I started wearing hijab, I had a lot of comments were made to me at my job. I worked in a hospital at the time, but we were in Boston, which was, you know, a lot more diverse than where we live now. But it was people. A woman came up to me who was actually originally from Iran, and she said to me, "Why is your husband forcing you to do this? Do not allow him to force you." And there was this total misconception of why I would start to wear hijab. Nidal never asked me to do that at all. You know, he was actually surprised when he saw me in it the first time. So you know, it was a shock to him when I came into his place of employment in hijab the first time. So,
were you happy to see her wearing the hijab?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, but he was shocked. So I think it's very difficult, you know, for people in this country to accept that a woman would actually choose to do this as opposed to being forced by her husband. There's this misconception that people, you know, the stereotype of the oppressed woman in the Middle East. And I mean, I've been there. I don't see it.
And what about, I mean, covering yourself and wearing the hijab? Do you feel oppressed?
Oppressed? No, not at all. I mean, I'm trying to find on the way over here.
Well, I was asking you that because, you know, people perceive you as being oppressed. So I'm asking you,
no,
do you feel oppressed?
Not oppressed,
you know, because
no.
people don't come out and just ask you that question, you know?
No.
Are you oppressed? Do you feel oppressed?
No.
Okay.
No.
Another thing I think you mentioned when you first started wearing hijab, I guess it's the stereotype. A lot of people expect a woman with hijab to have a foreign accent and to look different. And a few times she mentioned to me that when people treat me fine, and then when I speak and they realize that I don't have an accent, they change their attitude to me. Remember that?
Well, one time I went into a grocery store and I was buying a package of gum, and I went up to the register and the man said to me, 75 cents. And I just couldn't resist. I looked at him and said, whatever. You know, it's like, I speak English as well as you do. So, but, you know, there's this misconception amongst everybody here that, you know, why would a woman do this? And they, you know, it's stereotypes. Like, we have stereotypes of people, you know, from over there, the American people do. And there has to be a way to break all these stereotypes down because people are more alike than they are different. And people need to be able to see past a scarf on someone's head or the color of someone's skin or whatever, and they have to be able to see what's inside. I wish there were a way to do it.
Right. But I think, like the people say, it's the misconceptions just comes from not knowing us, you know?
Yes, it's fear.
You know? Because the people who live near in the proximity of Muslims and know them, then they're not so susceptible to the misconceptions and misinformation.
And I have to admit, I mean, where I work, people know that I'm Muslim and they know my background, and you know, they respect me for who I am, and sometimes they actually come and joke with me in Ramadan.
Let me ask you, how many years have you been working there in your place now?
In this place, it's been 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did the attitude change a bit after 9/11? Were people more inquisitive or more serious about their questioning about, you know, Islam?
Yes, they started questioning more about September 11. They wanted to know what Islam about, because what they hear is this, you know, Islam tells you to go drive your car and kill innocent people, and the media brings Islam in a bad picture. So they actually no educated person believes that any religion would ask you to do this. So they come to me because they know that I'm Muslim, and they say, "Is it true the Quran says do this and do that?" And I say, "No." A lot of the time the media takes words out of context. They take half the ayah and they leave the rest of it, and they just emphasize on what they want the media to know. And there was a lot of interest on knowing about Islam after September 11.
And Sister, how about in your workplace? Did you have the same experience, or were you working at that time?
Yes, I was working at that time. Not so much because people knew me and it was already accepted that I was a Muslim, but there were a lot of comments made about that were difficult for me to hear.
Such
but I
as?
understood. Well, I actually worked with a woman who lost her husband on September 11th, and it was a very difficult time for everyone. And I think there was a lot of fear that more than anything, and that was what was was fueling the fire. And it was a difficult time for everyone.
Yeah.
But alhamdulillah, I see that it was also an opportunity for Muslims to speak out and inform people about what Islam really is. And traveling around the country, we find that a lot of people, in just trying to find out for their own selves what the truth is about Islam, find out that the truth is the religion they want to be part of. But before we conclude here, I'd just like to ask both of you, what do you feel, in your estimation, as being Muslims here in America, what do you feel is the future outlook for Islam here in America?
I feel that Islam. Oh, can I?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I feel that Islam is going to grow more in the United States with more education towards, when people start to know more about it. That's, going to be the ticket to people joining and becoming Muslim, I think. I think it would be really helpful for us to have a masjid here that would be, something that people could see, like we see the Catholic Church, we see the Methodist Church. There is no mosque here in New Hampshire. And I think that would be a beacon of hope for people to drive by and see, oh, well, gee, that's where the Muslims go, and to see people going in and coming out, and just like a church that they would see, of any other religion.
Well, I think, as Janet said, there is, I see the future that the Islamic community is going to be growing in this country. And I could speak for myself. I mean, when I compare 10 years ago to now, when you go to the major cities, to the big cities, I usually count with my kids how many sisters we see, hijabi sisters, and I see much more than I used to 10 years ago. I don't know if it's for immigration or people just start wearing the hijab more, but there's a lot of communities here, and there are a lot of good people doing good deeds and trying to help to build their communities. Personally, I participate in this school here. I try to donate my time in the Sunday school and teach the children Arabic language, and I bring my kids. So there's a lot of new people coming more to the mosques. Inshallah, we'll have our first mosque in this state, and it will bring more people and educate a lot of American people about Islam, and give them a good image and the right picture about Islam.
Okay. Well, again, thank you very much, you and your
welcome.
family, for sitting with us and sharing your experiences as Muslims and Muslim parents. And I hope that our viewers have got a bit more insight into some of the challenges facing Muslim families here in the United States of America. And I invite you to join me as I continue to travel throughout the world of Islam. I hope we've been able to separate the fact from the fiction, the truth from the falsehood, and the myths from the realities, and leave you with a positive understanding about Islam and Muslims. And I invite you to join us as we continue